Thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, Voice You Know with the News You Trust studio. Sponsored by BASF, where you can count on the trusted performance of Elvivo seed treatment to protect your soybean crop. I am Allison Kinney. Now let's take a look into what's making agricultural news. The USDA will issue a second Emergency Commodity Assistance Program payment to eligible producers for the 2024 crop year. Of the authorized $10 billion in ECAP assistance, USDA's Farm Service Agency has already provided over $8 billion in payments to eligible producers to mitigate the impacts of increased input costs and falling commodity prices. Initial ECAP payments were factored by 85% to ensure the total program payments didn't exceed $10 billion in available funding, said USDA Deputy Undersecretary Brooke Appleton. Because additional funds remained, FSA is issuing another payment. Payments will automatically be made to eligible producers with approved ECAP applications who received an initial payment. Any application approved after September 25 will receive one lump sum. These payments, combined with the entire suite of supplemental disaster assistance programs, will help producers navigate market uncertainty, pay down debt from the 2024 crop year, and secure financing for 2026, Appleton said. Also making headlines, as the weather turns cooler across the U.S., many shoppers are beginning to plan holiday meals. American Farm Bureau Federation economist Barrett Nelson says USDA's latest turkey-raised report gives us some important insight on the size of the U.S. flock ahead of Thanksgiving.
Now, this number came in estimated at 195 million turkeys raised in 2025. This is down about 3% from 200 million turkeys raised in 2024. Now, if we look a little bit further back, this is down 16% from about 10 years ago and 35% from the peak of the report, which had about 301 million turkeys being raised in 1996.
He said turkey farmers saw some good news on the HPAI front throughout the last few months, but the situation is still starting to change.
We had very few detections throughout the summer. If we looked at June, there was just a couple detections, none in July, and just a couple in August to kind of round out the month. But now as we've gotten into September, cases have started to pick back up again. There have been 15 additional detections in September. This has affected about 3.75 million birds.
Nelson says there is some good news, though, as turkeys for Thanksgiving are already in the pipeline and shouldn't see much impact due to the rising number of avian influenza cases.
It shouldn't have a major impact going forward on the prices as we get closer to Thanksgiving. I think you'll see a little bit more consistency. The prices are definitely higher than last year. We see that uptick right now in the wholesale price by about 40%. So we'll definitely see some price increases there, but I don't think they're going to go a whole lot higher above where they're at.
Again, Barrett Nelson of the American Farm Bureau. In the news as well, AGCO is asking a federal court to allow a rare interlocutory appeal in the Federal Trade Commission's ongoing right to repair lawsuit against John Deere. The request follows an August ruling that granted Deere access to confidential competitor information gathered during the FTC's investigation, including details like sensitive pricing, sales, and financial data from AGCO, as well as CNH Industrial and Kubota. AGCO argues the ruling lacks the heightened protections usually applied to non-party materials and says immediate review is needed to prevent disclosure of vital business information. Once released, the company contends that the data cannot be protected from misuse in either the FTC's case or related farmer lawsuits. Farm Equipment Magazine says the appeal would go to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit, where AGCO hopes to clarify what legal standards govern the release of government-held competitor data in antitrust cases. Deere vows to vigorously defend itself. To round out the headlines, the August Rural Main Street Index covering a multi-state region shows 1/5 of grain farmers will experience a negative cash flow in 2025. For the seventh time this year, the overall regional economic index sank below growth neutral, falling to 38.5 in September, down from 48.1 in August. Also, for the 16th time in the past 17 months, farmland prices sank below growth neutral. Elevated interest rates, higher input costs, and below break-even prices caused the downward pressure on farmland. Farm equipment sales dropped below growth neutral for the 25th straight month. 3 out of 4 bank CEOs reported that tariff increases have had a negative impact on farm operations. Weak agricultural commodity prices for grain producers continue to dampen economic activity in the 10-state region covered by the index, said Dr. Ernie Goss. Falling agricultural commodity prices represent a great threat to agricultural banks over the next 12 months. Now let's take a look at your closing markets on this Tuesday. Brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance. Learn more online at seedconsultants.com. December corn closing in today down 6 even at 415.5. March corn down 6.5 at 432. November soybeans down 8 3/4 at 10.01 3/4. January soybeans down 9.5 at 10.20 1/4. December wheat down 11.5 at 5.08. October live cattle are up 52 cents at 231.85. October lean hogs are down 130 at 99.85. And November feeder cattle are up 5.47 at 5.59.35. Thanks for joining us. You're listening to the Ohio AgNet.